Hey, this is Yonah Weiss, the Cost Seg King. And if you want to learn how to sharpen your axe and take down your biggest goals, you should be listening to the Small Axe Communities podcast with my good friend, Nico Salgado.
Hi, welcome to the show. I'm Nico Salgado, and I chat with top industry leaders in multifamily and business. I believe that it only takes a small axe to build a lasting empire. And if you want to learn how to use your small axe to accomplish your biggest dreams and goals, then join our Small Axe community and enjoy the show. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Small Axe Communities podcast with my special guest again, Yonah Weiss. This is part 2. Today, Yonah is going to be talking to us more about LinkedIn and how he uses and how he has used LinkedIn to really create just massive marketing platform. If you know Yonah and if you've seen him on LinkedIn, you know that he is a beast on LinkedIn. So Yonah, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nico.
All
yeah,
right.
I love it.
Yeah, man, I've seen you, man. This is what you do on LinkedIn is absolutely inspiring, and I really need to learn a little bit more from you. So let's jump into that. Talk to us a little bit about when you really started using LinkedIn.
I really started using LinkedIn, I'd say about 2.5 years ago. I had a membership, to the platform. I, had an account for about 10 years or so, maybe more than that, maybe 12 years, basically when they started. And like everyone, it was just a place to post your resume, and it was a place to look for a job. And that was what LinkedIn was all about. It was like a business, platform. Headhunters used it to find recruits, things like that. About 3 years ago, especially after the Microsoft acquired LinkedIn, it totally changed. It changed into becoming this more social networking, content creation platform, but on a professional level. So, I kind of, like I would do every so often, check in. And actually really interesting, I'll tell you something. I just made this connection recently when I was thinking about how I really got back to LinkedIn in the first place, was that I found LinkedIn through Google. Meaning I had an account, but I never used it. Like I check in once every 3-6 months or something like that, right?
Right.
But and all the connections that I had were people that I knew personally, right? People that I had done business with, or people that really, since I had it for like 10 years, people that went to college with, or people that I knew from, high school or whatever. But I found LinkedIn through Google because I was looking for, prospecting, and I was looking for clients. I was looking for, business. And when you want to look someone up, right, you put in their name into Google and you try to find some contact information. You may try to find their website, try to find some way to reach out to them, right? Mm-hmm. What kept coming up at the top of the first page of Google? Their LinkedIn profile.
Wow.
So I kept going into LinkedIn and finding like, hey, there's this guy. Oh, this is his company, right? I can find contact information for them. And I kept doing that, and it didn't take very long to see that there was like real content on the news feed. It wasn't just like articles being posted, right? Like it used to be, just like news feed and articles and things. It was like people putting video content and like, written content that was quite engaging. And it was like, wow, this is so interesting. It's like inspirational, and it's stuff that I can relate to, and it's business tips, and it's sales tips, and it's networking tips, and all these kinds of things. I was like, this is great. And I started like reaching out to people, started building connections, and then it just snowballed from there. So that's how I found LinkedIn again.
That's awesome, man. And I'll tell you, I've recently picked it up also, and you're right. It's completely different there. It's more interactive. It's more of a social media platform than it was in the past. Whereas in the past, you're just posting jobs and it wasn't as interactive. And now the opportunity exists for people to really interact and connect in a way that it was just never possible before. How did you build such a immense following? Because I see that you get so many likes, so many views, how did that come about in such a short period of time? I mean, it's only been a few years.
It, literally just is with consistency, right? And building little bit every day, time after time. And it's more, like you said, it's networking. It's about building a community. And I view it like a networking event, right? That's how I view it. we can't go to networking events right now, but I view LinkedIn like that. And you can literally reach out to anyone, anywhere through this platform, connect with people, start conversations, start real connections with people, hop on phone calls, make, just bring it to the next level. And that's what I've done. And I've done it strategically, from the beginning. Just number one, posting content consistently and engaging content. So, asking questions, things that are going to get people to want to answer. And when you respond to people, they will be responsive as well. And so that's another thing I learned really quickly, is that don't just post and run, right? You have to actually spend some time there. You have to respond to people, respond to messages, engage on other people's posts, other people's content, consume content. And by doing that, you can actually have much more engagement on your own content.
Yeah, in that sense, it's very similar to other social media platforms, yet the clientele that you're finding on LinkedIn, or from what I was told, is very different. I do similar style engagement and communicating with people on let's say Instagram, but
Right.
I'm not going to get the same clientele. And I'm sure the algorithms are different. Let's talk first about the clientele. And do you do business and find business through LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the main reason why I started doing it this way, was specifically to find business. And it's a professional platform. And people, when they're on this platform, they are more in the mindset of doing business. Not that, like, I see it as like a business networking event. That's really how I see it. Not necessarily that they're ready to buy everything from everyone. Okay. So it doesn't mean you should be like, cold messaging people, that they should, do business with you, like you would just like cold call people. It doesn't necessarily work, or it maybe might work at the same percentage that it does cold email or cold phone calls. But what it does allow you to do is create real relationships. People know what you do, they see what you do, and you're allowing yourself to create a professional, personal brand, which allows people to know who you are and what you do, so that if there is a possibility to do business with you, it's much easier to do so.
Right. You've already built a little relationship with them. They can kind of get a sense of who you are. It's similar to podcasting, where you're giving tastes of your personality and just how genuine you are or not as a person. And, it's a way for people to just know, like, and trust you, and build somewhat of a rapport, even if you never even communicated with them, because people are watching. Now, so with LinkedIn, I mean, do you find you get more viewers or visitors on your LinkedIn page than perhaps your website?
Yeah, tremendous amount more. Well, that really has to do with how much marketing effort I'm putting in the website as well, which that's a different question. But what I do find is that I get a huge amount of people visiting my LinkedIn profile, a huge amount of people engaging with my posts, and like I said, that didn't take overnight, right? That's taken a long time to build that up. So, but putting in that effort, it will come back in return, as long as you nourish that, as long as you cultivate that, and you have a strategy. So just posting content for the sake of posting content, and especially if you're trying to just do this on multiple platforms, which I see a lot of people doing, just like kind of posting the same thing to every single social media platform out there. And what you're doing by doing that is really not getting the maximum benefit from any one of them. Okay, so you really have to focus and understand the algorithm, understand how this platform works different from others, in order to maximize the return on investment. Basically, it would be like, if you ran a multifamily business, right? You wouldn't necessarily be investing in retail or office, or self-storage. They're totally different businesses. You have to
Mm-hmm.
understand each one on its own.
As well as the audience is going to be different.
Correct,
You know.
exactly.
So let's give the listeners some action. Let's take a look. Or imagine the profile itself. What are some key things that should be beefed up? We really should focus on when creating the first thing, the profile, when people see that.
Yeah, and I'll offer, if anyone wants to go to my website, yonahweiss.com, I have a free checklist that I did, actually, just to help maximize your profile itself, because that's the first step, right? like I said, I found LinkedIn through Google because I was looking up people and their LinkedIn profile kept coming up. So that means you want to make sure that your profile is, number one, up to date and is professional looking and is engaging. And not only that, but tells people who you are, what you do, and not only that, how you can help them. So when someone lands on your profile, you want people to understand immediately how you can help them. Okay. So yeah, make sure you have a professional headshot. It seems like it goes without saying. Use the banner behind you, right? Don't just have those blue squiggly lines. You know, make sure you have your contact information there if people want to reach out to you, and just beef it up, like you said, to include things that if I were to land there, I would know immediately what you do and how you can help me.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Now, in this checklist that you provide, is it only the profile, or is it also does it also go into the algorithms and other things?
This one is only for the profile.
Okay, cool. And that's where we're going to start. So when you guys are going to LinkedIn and you're creating your profile, first of all, Yonah shared with us the power of it, because we're all searching for a way to be the top of the list on Google, and okay, here you have it, and you don't have to pay any crazy Google AdWords or anything
It's
like
crazy,
that.
right?
Yeah, you don't have to look into the SEO or be knowledgeable of that. Okay, beef up and really get into your LinkedIn account and start making it look nice, making it professional. Now, what if it wasn't very professional? What if, like me as a person, I like to present myself a little less professional? Is that okay?
Right. Yeah. I mean, listen, everyone has their own level of who they are, what they do, but you know, if you can be more casual per se, but it should look, what I mean by professional, it should look, put together. Like you shouldn't
Right,
have a picture of yourself at the beach,
right,
because
right.
again, people are coming here specifically to do business and to find business,
I
right?
think, yeah, and I think that's huge too, because you automatically knock that off the table, because you when I talk to people, and if I have to convince them to do business, then it's like I'm already struggling with them. So if they're ready to do business, they're coming to LinkedIn to do business. You have a win right there. Run with it.
100%. And it's interesting. I think everyone should stop right now and just put your own name into Google, right?
Mm-hmm.
And see what comes up. Because believe me, take my word for it. I put my name into Google, and what comes up the first thing? LinkedIn.
Yep.
LinkedIn profile comes up. So that means if anyone's going to be searching your name, like if they find out from you from anywhere, right? They might put your name into Google, and if LinkedIn comes up, they very well, especially as at the top on the first page, they very may well look into that. So you want to make sure that it's reaching to you. Now, if you're very active on other platforms like Instagram or Twitter or things like that, that might come up too in the first page. So, but here the point is, if you have your LinkedIn profile up to date, and if you're active on the platform, also it actually pushes that up to the top.
That's great. And then you're automatically reaching the right clientele
And
that
it's
we're
free,
looking
like you
for.
said. It's totally
It's
free way to
incredible.
get the first result on Google.
It's incredible. I mean, talk about the power of marketing and the power of the internet. This is it right here. Can you share some tips for posting?
Yeah, a few tips. So really, there's two different types of categories here. One is posting your own original content, and the other thing is engaging on other people's content.
Hmm.
And I actually want to say that the latter is more important than the former. So engaging on other people's content can actually be so much more beneficial than even posting your own original content. But I'll get to that second. Posting your own original content is, there's written posts, there's pictures, there's videos, there's sharing articles. There's a lot of different forms, different ways that you can go about doing it. The number one thing that gets the most views and interaction and engagement are simple, short form written posts.
Hmm.
Okay. And that means you click where it says start a post and you just start typing. Doing that consistently, and I do that daily. Literally, I'll do that every single day, and it can just be it can be anything. And I find that um, just being yourself and sharing your story is the best way to actually go about providing, content. People get to know you. They get to know who you are, what you do. And it doesn't necessarily have to be all about your business. And that's the great thing. It shouldn't necessarily be like you're just talking about your business all the time and, this and that all about your business. It can actually be really anything related to business. It can be related to sales. It could be inspirational. But again, keep it professional as much as possible. It doesn't mean you can't talk about your family or something personal, from time to time or whatever, or your hobbies. That I think that's totally okay if you're doing it at a small percentage because it gives you a rounded picture. But if you want to have ideas of what types of posts to write about, find something interesting. Did you just read a book? Did you just listen to a podcast? Did you just go to a seminar? Did you anything like that? Take out some ideas from that. Say, hey, I just listened. You're listening to this right now. Go to LinkedIn. Say, I just listened to Nico's podcast, and there was this guy, Yonah Weiss, talking about cost segregation and talking about LinkedIn or whatever. And these are 3 things that I learned. Awesome. That's a post. That's a post. That will be, someone will see that and might like that and might engage with that, might ask a question there. And therefore, what can you do? You can now have someone reaching out to you through that and people seeing you. That's really what it's all about.
That's amazing, man. And you know what it is? It's like starting conversations and just engaging with people, talking, does that help the algorithm or people find you more the more you engage with people?
Yep, that's very much so. That is 100% right.
No, I noticed on LinkedIn, I have they always present to me different people to follow or to request. Now, should I just go be following everybody or is there a certain method to it?
Each person going to have their own method. Some people just connect with everyone on, under the moon. I try to focus on seeing people that are in my industry or some people that are involved in real estate whatsoever. People that are, outside of the country, I usually have very little to do with them. I will have probably very little to do business with them ever. And so only if there's like a real reason, that I want to connect with them, that's who I'm going to connect with. Following, you can follow unlimited amount of people, but you can only connect with 30,000 people. Now, 30,000 may seem like a ridiculous amount, and most people don't have that. But believe it or not, if you're on the platform consistently, over time you might get to that. And but I wouldn't say just collect followers, collect connections for the sake of having them, because that also does influence the algorithm who they're showing your content to. So
you want to be somewhat strategic about it.
Strategic, and yeah, exactly. Make sure that you're getting in front of the right people.
That makes sense, definitely. Now, I get a lot of people just reaching out to me with, like you said, cold calls, almost just sending me an automatic message, hey, do you need somebody to do the insurance on your building or something like that? And it's like, I'm not really going to reach out or talk to them. Is that a bad method? Because I know that you said there could be a certain percentage of people that they're reaching and engaging with, but are there other or better ways to do it?
Of course, there are better ways to do it. Again, the cold messaging, the cold calling, it's exactly what it sounds like. Most people don't respond to that. You're going to get a percentage that will. Everyone's going to get a percentage that will. Like, cold calling does work, right? But strategic cold calling works 10 times better. So strategically reaching out to people, first following them, first maybe engaging with their content, striking up a conversation is, 10 to maybe 50 times more likely that they're actually going to respond to you.
It makes sense. I mean, come on, guys. I'd much rather talk to somebody I have somewhat of a relationship with, or be some human, as opposed to, it seems like a robot really literally sends.
Well, a lot of them are. Believe it or not, a lot of them are robots. There are literally, robots, bots, or whatever, AI that is doing this. There are programs that people have that literally just send out hundreds of messages a day and hoping that someone's going to respond.
It's wild. All right, so we have the profile is beefed up. We know how to post. We're posting or you're saying the best posts are going to be the short, what is it called? Short word text?
Yeah, short form, just text only.
Text only now, and pictures and is there an order as well for pictures and for video?
Pictures usually get more um, engagement and more views than not just pictures by themselves, but pictures with posts with
Gotcha.
word written content. Excuse me. Videos used to get a lot more. They've tended to get less recently, for whatever reason. I'm not sure. Especially long form videos. Short form videos are still pretty good. Like if you keep it under a minute, if you have subtitles, it's even better. It's going to get it seen by a lot more people.
Great advice, man. Let's also talk about now. So, you know, you said you also engage with a lot of people. Do you set us? Is it like time blocking that you set aside time to do that, or is it just all day because you're probably getting messages all the time?
I do get messages all the time, and I'm on, believe it or not, I'm on LinkedIn like the majority of the day. Not not all the time, but a lot because I put in a lot of effort there, and I send a lot of messages. I engage with a lot of people, and therefore I get a lot of responses and tremendous amount of business through that. So depending on how much you're putting in, you're going to get out. I truly believe that. So the engagement, I would say yes, people should time block that. Find a certain number of people, right? Don't just make it random. You could make it random, but either find a number of people that you like to follow that you want to engage with their posts, and or follow certain hashtags that you can go to those hashtags, and those are hashtags that are very kind of targeted in your industry, where you can engage with those posts in your in your industry, in your profession. But the more strategic it gets when you're going to be targeting who you're wanting to engage with. So for me, right, I want to find, and for someone out there, you want to find who is your ideal client, who is your ideal person that you want to work with, whatever that is. You can use the search bar on LinkedIn to find people like that. And you can find content. You don't just have to go to your newsfeed. You can find content through the search bar, from your first connections, from your second connections, and you can find people to engage with through that. So I'll put in, let's say, multifamily into the search bar, and then I'll find content that's related to multifamily, and you can narrow that search even more by industry. You can narrow that by if they're your first connection, and so now you can find people that you already may know that you want to engage with, comment on their posts, like their posts, etc. The comments are even better because you can start a conversation, and that's how people are going to get to know you. That's it, right?
Right.
When they see you put in a note, you're going to know who they are simply because you notice their name. You see their name. It comes up again and again and again.
Yep. Awesome. Are there and going back to you mentioned hashtags, searching hashtags, but also you put hashtags in your posts often. Is there a certain number that you put in?
It's constantly changing. I typically don't put more than 3 hashtags currently in my posts, specifically because there has been a change in the algorithm that the posts themselves pick up in the actual URL is made up of the hashtags, and it's limited to 3. So if you put more, it's just going to confuse the
Oh,
algorithm. At least that's what I understand from a algorithm perspective. But it's different than it's harder to search hashtags on LinkedIn than it is on, let's say, Instagram or other platforms.
okay. I was also told that if you reuse the same hashtags over and over, you start losing traction like that as well. Is that true, or do you
I'm
know
not
about
sure
that?
about that. If you have certain custom hashtags, those are really the best.
Okay.
So if you have like a certain hashtag, so you can now click on that hashtag and find all the content that has had, that hashtag within it. So I'll use things, that are related to my industry, or I'll use, cost seg king. That's like my hashtag. If
Yeah.
people, I can click on that and find every single post that, the past 6 months or whatever that I've, put out with that. So it's much easier to kind of follow that. So if you have certain hashtags that you want to follow that are using that specific tagline, it's a great way to find that.
So do you often use cost seg king?
Yeah,
That's great. And so people just click it that they know that that's you, or they when they do click it, they're gonna find out that that's you real quick, huh?
exactly.
Cool. You mentioned in the past, I was on one of your webinars, and you mentioned something about commenting right away. Can you talk a little bit about that on somebody else's post?
Yeah, commenting right away on someone else's post, it's a great way to be seen first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you, and you can filter by content. When you go to your newsfeed, you can filter by, top or by recent, and therefore you can find uh, posts that have just been posted, within the first 2 hours, or something like that. When you're the first comment on a post, so that does two things for you. Number one, whenever you comment on someone's post, the author is gonna recognize you. Okay. And if you're the first one, they're going to be grateful, because what you're doing by commenting on other posts, and this, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but it's so more important than even writing your original content, because you're adding so much more value to other people,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to notice you.
Love
So
it.
you can strategically comment on people who you want to be noticed by, and when, especially within the first hour of posting, that's when the algorithm picks up on the posts as, the most, and so it starts pushing them out to be seen by more people.
Great. Man, Yona, I don't know how much more value you can provide these people. This is wild. Honestly, people are, some people are just afraid of using social media, but this platform is serious for those people who are serious in improving their business and improving their growing their network, growing relationships, and just overall marketing and branding even of their own company and their own name. I mean, LinkedIn is becoming something that if you can't deny it if you really are serious about your business.
Yeah, it's huge.
Awesome, man. All right, I want to be mindful of your time. This was the second episode with my man Yonah Weiss, and I have a question for you, Yonah. Let's let's imagine that it was 100 years from now, and one of your 6 children had children, and their children might have had children. So you're a great grandfather by now, and
100 years
they,
old.
yeah, they have decided to write a book about you. What would you like the title of that book to state?
First of all, that's an incredible question. It's an awesome question. There are so many different aspects uh, to life, and the one thing that kind of stands out to me that is really about giving. So I would probably call the title of the book, to make it catchy, uh, "Give to Live."
Nice. I love it. So Grandpa Yona, give to live. I love it. Because when we give to people, it is a form of life. Because honestly, and I ask my students in school this all the time: would you prefer to give gifts or to get gifts? And most of them say at that age, it's sixth, seventh, eighth grade. I would like to get gifts. But as they evolve, you find the more mature kids that prefer giving gifts, and you can
Yeah.
see that they feel empowered, they feel enlightened by it, and almost just a sense of pride that is something that you can't take away from somebody. By giving is really, really the way to receive in life, and that is pure life. So I really love that, Yona. That is awesome. All right, my man, can you let the listeners know one more time how they can reach out to you for either cost segregation, a good, nice chat, or to learn a little bit more about LinkedIn?
Absolutely. Go to yonahweiss.com. That's where you want to find me, or LinkedIn. That's the best place. Literally, I'm there, like I said, pretty much most of the day. It's very easy to find me there. I check my LinkedIn messages before I check my email. So there's.
Excellent, man. All right, well, it has been such a pleasure. I really appreciate you joining us on the show for these 2 awesome episodes, Yona. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
I would like to say thank you for listening to another episode of my podcast, where we show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. Now, if you liked what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. Also, if you want to get in touch with me, go to my website at smalaxecommunities.com. And until the next episode, keep sharpening those axes.